everyone should be able to see and hear us. I don't know why we had so many technical difficulties this time. We've done this several times, but Adrian and Jason, can y'all say something just so we can see?
It should be working, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll take. Oh, somebody said hello. Okay, hello.
Echo?
Echo.
Are we getting everyone?
Is there a creepy echo? Or?
That was my fault. I stopped it.
Oh, okay, cool.
But Lindsay's giving us a thumbs up, so I think everything's coming through on Twitch.
Cool. Awesome.
All right.
Wow. Okay, so yes, code spells, right?
Yeah. So we had some great jokes in the previous one that everyone just missed. I mean,
yeah. So some of the best stand-up comedy.
We're doing our routine here, and no one got any of it, which is they'll just never make it.
Lost in the world, friend.
So, all right, the official early access release is later this month. So this is actually the last update before that that milestone, and so we're going to be showing off some of the cool stuff that'll be out in that release. Let's start with the game.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So this month has been a little bit of we've been a little bit radio silent this month. We've just been super focused on taking all of the elements of the game that we have and actually making it into something interesting and fun. So I apologize for that. We've been a little bit quiet, but we're converging on something that we feel is more of a presentable experience where it feels a little bit more polished and more like more structured in terms of an actual game.
So we generated here a new world?
Yes, so we've generated a world. So we're getting an echo. I'm going to turn down the volume on mine a little bit. Steven, can you speak now?
I am speaking now.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. This should work. Yeah, so we currently added a few new things to the world. We have several more things. Everything just glows now, like a magical glowy world. This is all temporary. What it's doing is it's pre-simulating the world so that when you jump into the game, we get a little bit of more...
Well, tell me, what does pre-simulation mean?
So we wanted the world to feel like it had started before you got there. So this needs some work. Obviously, it won't look like this, but it takes the world and the randomly generated world and simulates it for a while, much faster than you would be if you were in the game, and it kind of just builds up the world so that when you come into it, it's a little bit more interesting, and it's not just like this blank slate where water has first started flowing. So it'll create some lakes and stuff like that before.
So is it mostly water? What kinds of things are getting created during the simulation?
Well, let's find out.
Oh, all right. You got me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. So you'll see that we have forests. So one of the things that the pre-simulation does is it creates some forests based on where water has collected. So we can come over here and check out this cool little forest.
Oh man.
I'm just gonna teleport over because I'm lazy. There are some.
That's a sweet little tree there.
Yeah, these guys are pretty fun. So there's some issues with the water. So there should be some water around here, but it evaporated a little bit too quickly. So we're still balancing some of that, but we are able to get much more interesting worlds now. Yeah, so that's mainly this kind of stuff is what we've been working on.
So how does it just place all the trees kind of uniformly and randomly around water sources?
Yeah, so it actually does the exact same thing that it does with foliage. The only difference is that it does it in the pre-simulation state. So you can see that there's a lake over there, and around the lake, the trees have formed. So it's very similar to the foliage rules, only that it happens before running the game. We don't have like good rules for the trees to react in game. So we're still working on that. At some point, we would like to do something interesting with the trees so that you can destroy them or interact with them in some way, and potentially they could grow back. Right now, they're just static, but they're in the world and they're pretty cool. We have a new water shader that looks a little bit better. There's an issue with some seams happening that drives me crazy, but generally it looks better than it did before. And yeah, that's most of the stuff that we've done has been visual tweaks.
Yeah.
I saw some like crystal rocks or something.
Yeah, we've got this cool fog thing that's been happening where the world gets foggier around you and then it gets clear as you get out of the humidity. That was probably in the last update, but we polished it a little bit to be a cool thing. If you look, that's a floating rock spawner, because we used to have those floating rocks in the game and we liked them and we missed them, so we brought them back. We made them a lot fancier looking, and they spawn around these little like rock extrusions with little glowy parts. So at night when you're jumping around, you can see them.
Oh, did they glow at night for real?
Yeah.
Are we gonna get to see that?
Probably not, because I think the day-night cycle is set to like 30 minutes.
Oh, all right.
Hang out for a while.
I get to see the sunset, maybe. So like different trees grow in different regions. We placed a lot more rocks on the ground. I redid a lot of the ground textures, and I think they look better. The terrain generation is different than the last update, because I think when we were in San Diego we did an update and we did not have this new terrain generator, which is really cool. We get a lot of really cool terrains in the mountains and stuff, and we're going to be just starting to, place more stuff in the world. We're going to put temples back in and things like that. So
Oh
the
yeah.
world will just be filled with more stuff, trees and water. I mean that.
Yeah.
And so
It's
what
so
we
fun
have-
to work on a game that's like generating these random maps. It's like every once in a while you come to a park and you're like, that's really cool. Because I've never seen it before.
What region are we in right now, based on the trees?
It looks like we're up north. There's pine trees.
Yeah, we've been going north.
Yeah, if you go north, the trees change to pine trees as it gets colder.
And what is? I see like a flare in the distance.
Oh yeah.
That is
our
wacky thing.
Oh, I know it. Wait, is that what I think it is?
It's a Poma Very cool.
Can we go over there?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll just hang out down here.
Now, are these guys? Actually, we presented these guys in the last update. They just look very different
It
now.
looks very different, and
Yeah,
I
so
think they acted the same now, right?
they acted the same. We're rewriting their behavior now, but that was not at a presentable level. So they're kind of working in wacky ways right now.
Yeah, we're making them very reactive.
Yeah, we're rewriting the AI to make it a lot more interesting. This dude just like.
He just shoots a lot of water.
I actually feel bad getting rid of him, but that's alright.
Yeah, he's not really hurting you.
Little guy throwing water on the ground.
So yeah, it's just so you blew him up. All right, so maybe not everyone who's watching was here last time. So these guys are elementals, right? And I think Jason described them as leftover pieces of like magic technology. And so what was the little floating part? Well, maybe we can find another one and pick apart the anatomy of these guys.
Yeah.
Let's explore some more. So this is we've never been on this map before, so it's kind of hard. Makes it hard to like pre-plan a video like this.
Yeah.
Everything is new. But it's cool because we get to
This is a
see
nice little
little
mess.
mistake.
This terrain is driving me crazy.
Well, so what causes the elementals to spawn?
Right now they're random. We are going to place them based on these like temple spawners.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'd like
temples.
conditions to generate them, but
Oh, there's
for
one.
now we're just gonna randomly place them around you.
And so while we're heading towards that one
Yeah.
there,
Sorry, I'm gonna take a break right now. Sorry.
what exactly do these elementals do to you? I think each one's a little different, right?
Yeah, so we can go hang out with that one up there in the mountains, which will be fun. So they all have different spells that they can cast, and the idea is their spells are very similar to yours. They actually use the exact same code. This one, I think, pushes us and tries to
just
explode us,
nailed
which is not pleasant.
Yeah.
There's one that pins you and then shoots you, and that one's just really frustrating.
Wait, what's he doing right now? Why is he glowing?
So he's shielding.
defending.
I don't think we're gonna keep this behavior. Actually, we have some other ideas for that.
For how it could defend itself.
I hate to tell you this, but I think you're losing.
I don't think so.
Hey,
No?
well, it's nighttime.
Ow! Ow!
Oh,
Okay, you're good. So
did you get him? You got him, huh?
obviously, this is a very boring interaction.
I didn't think it was boring. What are you
I
talking
mean,
about?
I think it's boring. I think it's boring to just shoot them with explode spells. So we'll have much more interesting ways of interacting with them, and that's what we're working on right now. So I'm just gonna roll down this
We
mountain.
want to come up with a more clever way that they can defend themselves and use that as kind of a guide for figuring out how players can defend themselves against spells and
Yeah.
counteract different spells being cast at them. It's fun because the elementals are like these little blueprint AI guys that we can test what it would be like to battle. So it's fun to.
Yeah. So what's this guy doing?
I'm just grabbing.
He's got these shooters that orbit him, and
I'm just grabbing them and
if
pushing.
we grab him and push him away, it makes it easy.
Oh, cool.
He's trying to pin us to the ground and shoot us. with
I think
blood.
it's the same one, but yeah.
Right. So in terms of the lore, these guys are like leftover, kind of like minions from I don't know, like evil wizards of the past. In terms of gameplay, they're like procedurally generated creatures, really, where each one is a little different and kind of cast different spells and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and they will give you a, it's like, it's something different than an animal. Like, I remember liking video games when there's just like bad animals running around. Like, I don't know, I like the animals to kind of be doing their thing, but it's fun to have an enemy that, requires a little more thought than like, let's just blast them or let's just pick them up and throw them. It's like something you really want to, you really kind of have to like think about how you're going to fight it. And you don't feel so bad about killing it either.
We want them each to feel like a puzzle also. Like right now, part of what I was saying is that they're not super interesting in how you defeat them, and we want them to feel more like a puzzle. So that's what we're moving towards. So someone asked, can we eventually make them ourselves? And I don't see why not. We've had a few ideas about, and we can't promise this, but we like to just throw our ideas out there. But we've had a few ideas about allowing the character to have some of these like arms so that you can load it with spells and program your own little arm things to
Little familiars.
Yeah, so they act like familiars, but you can also use defensive spells on them so they can react to stuff in the world and react to stuff. We would like to get to that point, and like I said, the spells are exactly the same, so there's not any reason that you shouldn't be able to write your own elementals. Yeah, so there's actually no reason that you wouldn't be able to write your own. We have to hook that up at some point. But yeah, they're actually pretty fun. And one thing that we want Here's a glowing one.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
The balloons. We would like to. So the main thing that we want these ones to do is we want them to feel a little bit more procedural, and then when you defeat them, we want them to give you the spells that they're using. So if you see one doing something really cool, you can defeat it and then pick up the spell that it was using. So it gives you a little bit of something.
You can look at the code.
Yeah. And you can use it yourself.
Right, yes.
Man,
That's
that's
awesome.
It's like there's a. Oh, okay.
There's a guy.
So now it's water.
He's throwing more water.
Add water. This one's just.
Oh, I see his little shooter thing, he's blue.
Yeah.
So that tells you he's like a water elemental or something.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with this one. He seems
He's
harmless.
just a sad guy.
He
Looks
doesn't.
like he may be drowning Croaker though. He was just over here drowning a croaker.
That sounds horrible. Now, what is this little water thing? Is that a spring?
Yeah, that's a spring.
Oh, there is water.
Yeah, all those particle effects will be overhauled soon.
Yeah.
There's a croaker drinking from the water fountain.
He's like having a bath.
Partying. He's so excited about it. Like, water!
Right, so basically you're using the same spell against all of the elementals. And
Yeah, and we really want to change that up and make some, stop certain spells so you can't just like spam them with something.
Yeah.
Right. So every time you encounter one, you're like, oh man, how am I going to beat this one?
Yeah, that is the goal. And I don't know that we'll be able to achieve that perfectly with all of them. Like, I'm sure there will be. I mean, it's expected that there will be common ways to defeat them or to interact with them. But in general, we want it to feel different every time, and like you're using your environment to do it. So we started working on this today. We didn't get super far with it, but we're going to add a lot more rocks to the world, so that you have a lot more rocks to interact with. Right now, it's not super exciting to be able to throw rocks if you can't. You don't have very many rocks. So
We're placing smaller rocks that will be around more immediately around the player. Like, they're not as important when they're far away like the big rocks are, but stuff that like if you just need some projectile to pick up and throw, you can grab one off the ground.
Yeah. So yeah, that's we're still.
Question from the chat, will we be able to spawn rocks?
Yeah. It's, so this is another thing that we've talked about that we haven't gotten super far with yet. We would like to get to also soon. I'm not sure that we will be able to get to it for September. We might have a preliminary version for September release, but we want to have some sort of like it's basically like a simplified form of crafting where you can use materials that you're carrying as the character and blueprints for objects that you've found to create those objects and to instantiate them in the world. So you could use fire magic to construct an object that then you can throw around and do stuff with. There are some design considerations there that we haven't fully hashed out, so we haven't completely planned that out, but we do want to have that at some point for fire magic.
Yeah. Cool. Question, so what is the plan for things like air magic and steam and ice? Air, steam, and ice. Go.
So air magic we will have a preliminary version of in the next week or so. Air magic will be about sensing the world, like we've said, and so there won't. The main features of air magic will be to. There's a nice little shadow glitch. The main features of air magic will be to get information about the world and to redirect sounds and stuff like that. So that will be the main focus of air magic. In terms of steam and ice, we are not doing steam and ice yet. At some point we might add in stuff. We have some ideas for ice and lava that we would really like to get to, but that will most likely happen post this initial release.
Yeah.
I know we say this every update, but you know it's worth repeating. Like what our goal is for this next release is to have a first pass of all the elements. So there's something in each element that you can do.
Yeah.
But you know it's an early access game, and so what all of the elements do is going to evolve and change over time. We plan to be adding.
Yeah, and we do have some. We do have several ideas for that, so we can. At some point, we'll release a nicer roadmap of what we're thinking and when. But right now, we're just focused on the experience for the September release. So, yeah, in September, we'll have a better roadmap for what features we're planning and when.
Right. And a lot of it, you know, a lot of it will change depending on how. I know we're going to focus on multiplayer somewhat soon, and so balancing the multiplayer is going to be a big consideration when it comes to you know what the elements do or don't do, or when they do those things or don't do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another question was about the construction and deconstruction of objects with fire magic. So that, like we were talking about before, we do want to create a preliminary crafting system, so you could use fire to deconstruct an object and take its parts to then create objects with that. So if you deconstructed an object, at least what we have planned now, which again might change, is that you get some sort of blueprint for that object that you deconstructed, and then oh gosh, jeez.
He ambushed you.
Sort of like, I'll just write this one. So you'll get some form of you would get some sort of blueprint and materials from it, and then you can use that to construct new objects. So, yeah, at least that's the current plan for it.
Yeah, we'd like to, you know, make it as simple as possible so that it's not like, yeah, we have different ideas for how to do it. We think the idea of it all being linked to fire magic, you know, we definitely want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've said this before, but I know that the three of us have talked about it internally. That's that, you know, like when it comes to elemental magic, there's a lot of fiction out there already about that, and people kind of expect certain things. You know, they expect fire magic to be about like destruction, and you know, we to some degree want to do those things, but we also want to add some new stuff to each element. You know, things you might not expect. And people don't usually expect fire to be about, you know, construction, you know, deconstruction and then reconstructing. But there's no reason it can't be. So we kind of want to balance the traditional stuff also with some new interesting things. Air magic being about sensing also, I think, is reasonably.
Yeah, because, yeah, I mean, when we came down to, like, really thinking about the elements, we wanted to do something different with them. Because in video games, so often, like, elemental magic is just sort of a rock, paper, scissors situation where it's like, fire is good against that, and ice is good against fire. It's just, it's still cool, but it's, we wanted to have something a little more complex that also made sense. Like, earth magic being about gravity it's fun because it isn't really about, like, just being able to manipulate rocks. It's about being able to manipulate anything with this, like, sort of primal force, you know?
Yeah.
that they call Earth magic. That's what it's associated with.
And so the goal is to still, give people this experience that they kind of expect if they're watching Last Airbender. You could lift up rocks and hurl them at people, and could, of course, shoot fireballs at people. But we just want to also, in addition to that kind of experience, to have something, complex and interesting and new.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. And yeah, it's also the idea that like picking up an object and throwing it would be like, I don't know, different things that, it's like, oh, that's air magic, but for us, some things will get sort of lumped into different categories, like, like earth magic, or like you said, like fire magic being a creative force as well as a destructive force is kind of like a little unexpected, but I think it's a cool place to put it. And it's cool to think about it. The sun's coming up.
Well, we've done a full day and a night. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so let's call it a day.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time, and expect the release very soon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.